Hello and welcome to another The Church at Hiraeth. I was recently invited to speak at a school's career day. It was where the children were going from primary school into secondary school, and of course not that far into the future they'll be leaving school for good. At some point they'll all be thinking about what job they're going to do when they eventually do leave. And as well as myself, there were other people there, someone who was a party planner, someone who designs bridges. There was someone who runs a sewing and clothes making business. I went wearing my TNS tracksuit and I asked the children, what kind of job do I do? And they all guessed football. Although most said coach, actually. In fact, they all said coach, judging by the way that I was dressed. So I talked to them about what I did. They asked what sort of skills do you need to do what you do, and do you enjoy it, and how do you get into it, and all of that sort of stuff. And at the end of it, I left them with a very, very important message. And I feel it is vitally important, not just in their particular context and situation, but for all of us in life. And the message was that you have to do well at school. It's important. Study hard, prepare well, take the exams, do the best that you can, be the best that you can. And so at the end of it, you'll have an impressive set of qualifications to show future employers. But when you go for that interview, you could be one of 100, 200, 300 people who initially apply for the job, and many of them will have similar qualifications to you. So how does the employer determine who gets the job ahead of the pack? Character. It's all about character, isn't it? And in the Bible, I was thinking of the verses when I was talking from Galatians chapter 5. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I was saying to the children that education, absolutely vital that you do the best that you possibly can and get the best qualifications that you can. But more importantly, in some ways, do not neglect character. Because if you're a nice person with average qualifications, you'll go further in life than a not so nice person who's very well qualified. We know that, don't we, as adults who've gone through our education, we've gone into jobs, we've gone through life. We know that ultimately it's who you are as a person that will take you further rather than what letters you have after your name. And there it is in the Bible, the list of the fruit of the Spirit, all characteristics that we should all be striving for, not just for children who are thinking about getting their first job, but even if we're in our 60s or 70s or 80s, there's always room for improvement in our lives. The fruit of the Spirit, those are characteristics that we should all be looking to work more towards in our lives. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Let's sing our song for the day. It's called Awaken the Dawn, to sing to the Lord with all of your heart.
Just been to Montenegro, Champions League game, working game as well. And the day before I was fishing, and as I was putting my stuff back in the car, someone who I know came past and said to me, when are you starting your commentating again? I said, we did it last week. That was the start of the competitive season for the New Saints. And I said, tomorrow I'm going to Montenegro. And he was saying to me, you've got a good job, you've got a great job. He said, do you have to pay for all of these travels that you go on? I said, no, it's work, isn't it? When you go on a job, you don't have to pay anything at all. He says, do you have to contribute in some way towards it? I said, no, everything is paid for, doesn't cost me a penny. The transport to the airport, the flights, the hotel, the food, and everything else included, not a single penny. And he said to me, you've got a perfect job, you have. And we just chatted, and I was thinking about this because it's so easy, isn't it, to look at other people and think that they've got something better than we have. But there's not one person listening to this, especially the older you get. If you started your job last week, then you might not have had this sort of emotion or thought go through your mind. But if you've been working for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more, like I have, then there's no doubt whatsoever that there have been times when you've left work for the day, you've gone home, and you thought to yourself, if I never go back, I wouldn't be disappointed. It happens to all of us, and it happens to me as well. People can look on from a different vantage position and think, you must be waking up every morning with a smile on your face, one on your face throughout the day and another one when you go to bed at night. But it's not always like that, because whatever job you do, it doesn't matter how glamorous or how attractive it might seem to other people, there are always times when it's not attractive to you. And it's important to understand that and to realise that, because it's that saying, isn't it? The grass is always greener on the other side. If only I had what they have, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. If only I had their job, I'd never be down. If only I had their home, their car, I would always be happy. Well, you might for a while, honeymoon period, but that wears off. And there's not one of us that doesn't go through times whether it's a job or a home or whatever, where we sometimes can't see the wood for the trees. And we do focus on perhaps negative things rather than the big picture. And I was thinking when we had that conversation of the verses in Philippians, and it was the Apostle Paul writing, and he said, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. And it is important for all of us to understand and to realise that we have to be content where we are. Now that's not saying that we shouldn't be ambitious, say a job for example. That's a natural thing for many people. They are ambitious, they want to move on, be the best that they can as a person. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying is, in the context of where we are now, don't look at others and think, well, if only I had what they've got, I would be happy. You might for a while, but then the honeymoon period wears off. The secret, whether we have plenty or nothing, whether we're well fed or hungry, in other words, extremes, the secret is to be content and satisfied where we are at that time. The grass is always greener on the other side, but when you get there, it's just as hard to cut.
Sing to the Lord with all of your might, with understanding, give thanks to the King. Sing to the Lord with all of your strength, living your lives as a praise offering. You are the Lord, the Saviour of all, God of creation.
we hope that you've enjoyed this week's online service. If you check the description box on YouTube, assuming you're watching it there, of course, then there will be a link that will take you to the latest blog post, and in with them, of course, the fishing and the football and everything else will be the church at Hiraeth. And then you can connect with the actual page that I've got on my website that deals specifically with what we do, why we do it, what it's all about. And if you do have a prayer request that you'd like us to cover, we won't mention your name, we might just use an initial, or even not even that, even whatever you're happy with. But if you do have a prayer request, then you can go onto my guest book, drop a message there. You don't need to put any details such as your name or who you are, just an initial or whatever you feel comfortable with, and we'd love to pray for you. Prayer works. Prayer most definitely works. Faith is very real, and that's what we're trying to communicate through these online services that we do on a weekly basis. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.